Okay, Pasha Pekudi Tafshin Pei. Very interesting Pasha, and we're going to see exactly why. It seems to be extremely simple, but it's going to be a little bit complicated today. I'm going to go right away, see the Pasuk. First time I'm going to repeat part of what I gave on the previous year. I'm just too tired to come back too late to even reread myself. So let's go. I don't even know where my share is. Okay. Has the Pasuk here, Eile Pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan audit. Rashi himself, asks why the repetition of Mishkan, when is HaMishkan, when is Mishkan audit. I want to focus on something else completely. I mean, I'm going to go into it, obviously, as you can see already below, done it. But today, I'm going to add a different, the part I'm going to repeat is very short because it's worth it. It's a big chiddush. But Pekudei, the word Pekudei, if you're looking early in the Torah, it says, Vashem Pakad Esara Kasher Diber. It was Rosh Hashanah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Pakad, to translate it correctly, delivered, freed, not freed, but this is the sense, the meaning of the Lashon.
Redeemed.
Huh?
Redeemed.
Redeemed?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So redeemed Sarah as he spoke to Avram, obviously. What if this is what lifkoid is always when someone it's very much used to for a barren woman that becomes pregnant. We call this pekida. So what does it have to do with the Mishkan? Are you going to talk to me about the schools of the Mishkan here? What the Mishkan can redeem, can do for me? That's the intention? Then why is he not said in the Parasha here? We're going to start with making cheshbonos. It reminds me the word pekudim, the eile ha-pekudim, after they were counted, we used to make the sum of all the counts, and it's called pekudim. When you had the galim, you had the banners, and you had 3 shvatim, so we used to make the pekudim of the 3 shvatim. But even there, the word pekudim is not correct. The same way it's not correct, nasoi es rosh, raise the head, to say count. There has a different side, but talking here, it's very interesting, and not only once. Asher pukad alpi Moshe. Twice we're going to say it. And like Moshe did something in there. Betzalel, we're not going to hear him, and hear of him. But Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah, he did it. No, it's Betzalel that did the tziruf for his years, not Moshe. Let's stop asking questions. At least on this, Pukad, there's no need. Anyway, I'm not going to get any further, so there's no point here bringing more psukim. I'm not going to get further than this. I won't even be able to finish the pasuk. So I'm just going to talk about Eile Pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan Ha'edus, because obviously we're not talking about the same. Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe. Already from, if I had given another shir on Shabbos, we would have seen, what's the parallel between the two Mishkan. But here, let's start fresh and everything. From all the kelim of the Mishkan, they're going to be mentioned here. It's very weird. We've been mentioning that from onset on Parasha's Truma, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu ordered Moshe Rabbeinu to build the Mishkan. In Parshas Tetzaveh with the Begadim. In Parshas Kisisa with the, all kind of details of the menorah, Torahs. Parshas Vayakhel, everything was done. Still, we mentioned that everything, we couldn't encompass the whole Parsha in one sentence, and they've done exactly as Moshe ordered. No, we said it. Okay, fine. This time I let it go. But why again here? What am I gaining from this? What is anyone gaining from obviously, the Torah doesn't say one word, one letter that it's not supposed to teach us something. I mean, so many psukim about the Mishkan, there must be something grandiose about it that we fail to realize. Is that the pekudim of the Mishkan? That there's something we can draw from it, which is huge. The Gemara in Bava Basra says that the Keruvim were standing in the Kodesh HaKodashim benes. It was an ace. Why? Because every wing was 5 amos. That was a long wing, very long wing. The second one was also 5 amos. The Kodesh HaKodashim was 10 amos, 10 amos. So it was going exactly from one tip of a wing to the next tip of the wing. And where was the body? The space of the body. So obviously, it was there, and he was standing by a nace. Now, when you know that Shlomo HaMelech had 2 more, you wonder what was the space. They also been standing there by nace. So, I mean, this is the Kodesh HaKodashim, small place encompassed a lot. The Gemara after that brings 2 psukim about the Keruvim. First Pasuk, our Pasuk here, Ufneihem ish elachim. They were facing each other. And the second Pasuk, the Gemara brings down, can't remember where it is in the Navi, Upneihem labais, and they were looking at sideways. So the Gemara says when Bnei Israel used to behave correctly, they used to look at each other. But once Bnei Israel were not behaving correctly, they used to look sideways. In other words, Rashbam explains there in the Gemara, when Bnei Israel, when the Keruvim are looking at each other, this informs us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, because the love of the Keruvim, the passion they were showing at each other, is the passion of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows to Am Yisrael. And there's a midrash that every year, in the regal, they used to move the Bereishis and show the Keruvim interlaced to show how much love there was, between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his holy children. Though, when you look at the Pasuk, it says, Ufneihem ish alachiv, their faces were facing one another. And then it's going to say stira. El penei hakapores yihyu penei haker. El hakapores yihyu penei hakeruvim. You know what the kapores? So you had a box, which was 3 boxes, basically, one into the other. Exactly like we have Olam Asiya. Inside the Olam Asiya, we have Olam Yetzira, and we have Olam Beria. And then we have the Kapores, which is the cover of that cubical form, that box, sitting on there, which had a zer. A zer is like a border. And on top of this were the Keruvim. And their face had to look down toward the Kapores. Whoa. That's a very interesting puzzle. So within forwards, you tell me a stira. Ufneihem ishelachiv, their face should face one another. In despite the machlokes in the Gemara, what I want to show that no matter what, if you take the words of the Pasuk and you dig into it, you realize that it's not what it seems. The Gemara just won't give us a statement. But yeah, okay, but you stop short of telling me the end of the Pasuk. El hakapores, towards the kapores, yihyu penei hakeruvim. Their face should face the kapores, not each other. There is a Gemara in Brachas. Don't worry, guys. I'm just giving you a little bit of knowledge. So it's like you're breathing deep before you're going to snorkel down, and you're going to go down, and I'm going to be able to breathe. We're going to go deep. The Gemara in Bracha says, brings a few psukim that talk about the harvesting. And there's three levels. First level is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to harvest. You know, it says, I will take, and it's time, Velokachti degani be'itoi. And then it says, we say in Krishma, Ve'osafta deganecha. And we say, Ve'avata esoivecha. You will serve your enemy. Basically, there are 3 levels of Jews. One is committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's really, you know, doesn't really have time to do avodah, has to do an occupation. It doesn't mean that he shouldn't work. Melacha, he has to do it. It's a must. That's another shear, but meaning a person should have an occupation. Otherwise, he's going to become a thief, and people are going to talk about him. It's Chilul Hashem. But anyway, from here it seems that the guys, the first one is a tzaddik gamor. The second one, not always does he do what the Torah recommends. You know, on Chayla Moed Sukkos, he's going to the, what's it called, that game? When they pitch the ball there, what is called? Baseball. Well, he's going to the baseball game. It's not perfect, but he's not bad. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him bracha b'maseh yadav. So what he's going to do, he's going to see a bracha, but he's going to have to work. He's going to have to sweat. And you have the Rasha that not only he's going to work and his work is not going to produce, But he's going to work, he's going to have to do the work of his enemies also. And that's the 3 levels. So also by the Keruvim, you can see that we can have, different levels. One level, upnehem mishalachit, they're going toward each other. And the level, they're looking down. And the level, they're looking sideways. That would have been acceptable. Only what the Pasuk doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. The Pasuk is pretty clear that when it says upnehem ish elachim, means that you have to look at each other. They have to look at each other. And right away after it tells me ela Kapores, what's so important to look towards the cover of a box? Oh, it's in gold. The rest also is in gold. So what's the importance the Pasuk has to even mention? Looking at each other shows love. The love between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and us. But looking at the Kapores, what is he showing? Why do we even have a hint? Why do we even have a request? They should not look at the Kapores. We're going to start going there. I'm going to try to crystallize it as much as possible and not give too much information so I can pass on a clear message here. It's already enough that it's going to be new things for you, but I want you to understand how to apply it into your life, because you're the one that can apply it. And if and through that you will see benefits. Zohar Chodosh, Parshas told us, is telling us something unbelievable. We have sets of numbers, okay? We're not new to that. So the Zohar speaks about the set of number 7. You have 7 spheroids that rules everything in this world. You have 7 days. And we had 7 also shepherds. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aron, and David. So we have 7, the 7 day of Sukkot, the 7 Ushpizim. And the Zohar says, do you know who are? Because the Mishkan down here was created facing the Mishkan up above. And that was the Chachma of Betzalel to understand, what it means up above against. The Zohar says something terrible. He says, do you want to know who are the Keruvim on top there? He says, it's Moshe and Aron. And that's why the Torah was given through them. Because the same way down here, the Shekhinah will speak from in between the Keruvim, also up there. Yeah. Also, down to lower tone. Yeah. Also up there, the Torah came through Moshe Aaron. Moshe Aaron, they were living down here. How can you tell me they were up there? I can understand if you give me some angels, some malachim, and you said that big malach here and that big malach there. Yeah, because he lives there. So he's a Keruv. And the other one, that's the second Keruv. But Moshe, Aaron, that live here, that the Keruvim up there, makes no sense. And add something, the Zohar, that the fact they were standing on the Aron Aidus tells you which midah they were. So you had the Aron, which is the container. Sorry that I call it that way, but I just want to give an example, explaining something myself clear. It's the Kli. The Kli is always the Nukva. So the Kli is the Malchus. The Torah is inside. That's Keneged Kucha Berichu. The Kapores, so you have Malchus. Then we have, on top of Malchus, we have the Yesod, Yosef. So Yosef is Keneged the Kapores. On top of Yosef, you have Moshe and Aron. Netzach Hoy, Yesod, Malchus. Interesting. Something that we know already. But I have a big problem. A huge problem. On the very Torah that's inside the Aron HaKodesh, the second Dibur says, Lo yisaseh lecha fesel kol temuna. You're not allowed to make any shape or form of a living creature. And fortiori not when you're telling me they had the face of a child. Meaning you designed it totally. To the point that the Gemara recounts that when the Romans entered the Beis Hamikdash and they saw they said, wow, we thought the Jews were holy. And they had the shape of Keruvim enlacing themselves like a husband and a wife. He says, wow, they're also into that shmutz. So what's different between the Jews and us? None. So they looked at it down. But how did HaKadosh Baruch Hu require from us to build the Keruvim, which is in total conflict with the second Dibur that we had, Lo yisaseh lecha fesel? It's not shaykh. Rabbeinu Bachye here is very yesodic. Now, good mention is Rambam. Whenever Rabbeinu Bachye writes, his Rebbe said the Torah in concentrate, and he gives us the whole outlook. So he's bringing a midrash. And he said the Aron HaKodesh was so dear to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that it was exactly like the Kisei HaKavod. We knew that they resembled the two Mishkan, but we don't know what Kli refers to what up there. Now we found out through the words of Rabbeinu Bachye that the Aron HaKodesh was Keneged the Kisei HaKavod. And the same way the Kisei HaKavod stands between earth and heaven, in the air, the same way the Shechina was in between the Keruvim, which represent one Shamayim, the second one Eretz. Whoa. We're starting having some revelations here. And it brings, that midrash keeps on. It's good to know that midrash. Do you know how they used to travel with the Aron? If I would ask you how they were traveling, how they were carrying the Aron. When the Kehasim, they were carrying the Aron and it was covered, how they were, the formation. I mean, the respect they were giving to the Aron HaKodesh. Forgot where I've seen that. With Sefer, it's a very, very old Sefer. I was shocked when I read it, because the tabais, the rings to put the badim to carry it, were not on the width, on the length side. I mean, they have to carry like we thinking. The two first are carrying and facing forward, and behind the Aron, there's two more that facing forward. Because you would have then two the two first carrier would be giving the back to the Aron, and that's not possible. That's not possible. So they were carrying the backward. They were turning face to the Aron and walking backward to show you the kedusha of the Aron HaKodesh. And now you're telling me that on this Aron HaKodesh, I'm going to put an idol? I mean, idols? Doesn't make sense to us. They were moving, they had maybe a spirit. Oh, so Bilam was allowed to put his idols and make them move Bekishuf with everything. But that's fine, because when they move, it's mutter, right? Obviously not. And when they were carrying it from the Badim, when there was, let's say, a snake, it would shoot a sparkle like a bullet and boom on the snake and kill it, burn it. And when it would burn, it would give a tremendous good smell that even the nations around were saying, what's that smell in the midbar? You know, that's the Pasuk says, Mizos Eila Mina Midbar. You know, little details here and there gives a lot of knowledge. You never know when you're going to find it. But we see one thing is from the words of Bachye, the importance of the Aron HaKodesh. Now we see how difficult it is to understand that Keruvim were sitting on that Aron HaKodesh. It was the Kisa HaKoved, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu sit on it. How can we put a pesel in order to remind me of HaKadosh Baruch Hu sitting on Kisa HaKoved? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Let's go into the Pasuk. Enough with the questions. Let's start getting deep. I'm going to go quick. You have the answers here, so it's fine. I'm going to learn the whole Pasuk. I decided I was really facing a wall. You know, the more I was reading around, and I said, you know what, I cannot, you know, this doesn't answer the question. Our questions are simple, but very hard, very tough. So I decided to go with another way of learning the Pasuk, take the Rashi Tevois and Soife Tevois of every group of words that go together. Ele Pekudei HaMishkan. One set of words. Aleph, Pei, Hey equals 86 equals Elohim. I know already here you're going to surprise me. Let's see the Soife Tevois. Hey, Yud, Nun, 65 Adnus. I know I'm talking here about the Malchus already. I have the two names of the Malchus. I know we're talking about the Malchus. Something is going to come up, and I have to be ready, my toughest question, to answer it through the Malchus. Pekudei, that word that we say it means redeeming, equals 194, tzedek. It's a kinui of the Shechina. And when you give tzedakah, it becomes tzedakah. Tzedek is the din, and you can only be mamtik the din with tzedakah. By the way, on the previous Zohar, in Zohar Chadash that I mentioned before, he's saying, Arona de Sahadusa, the Aron Ha'edus, is tzedek. He calls it tzedek, the Malchus, through that. So we see that, you know, the Zohar here is guiding us somewhere. If you take these two names of the Malchus, put them together. Eloikim Adnus equals 151, equals Mikveh, equals Shem Kana of the Bina, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey. What is he doing here? We're going to see. We're going to wait first to see how many we have. If we take Tzedek, now the three Remazim of the Shechina here, we have Tzedek, Eloikim, Adnus, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, equal 345. You know the Shechina is Rachel. When she's called Rachel, means she cries. She has to be called Rachel Imeinu. It's called Moshe, equals Kel Shakai. We know that the Shechina at this point is happy. And there is no chitzon, no spirit, bad spirit, evil spirit that can access her because she is high, very high at this time. That's what we see from, okay, what is he going to tell me? How is the Mishkan did it to the Shechina? I don't know yet. Because we have to get everything from the words of the Pasuk. If the Pasuk went to that extent to hint me all this, he's going to hint me a lot more. We all know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu conducts the world with justice. There's nothing that happens in this world that doesn't go through the Malchus, not the good and not the bad. The Din or the Shefa. Everything has to go through the Malchus. What is the Pasuk here hinting? In other words, what I'm asking is, if you're telling me everything goes bedin in this world and HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure that the din is applied, how can you have a leeway with the Mishkan? Everything has to be din. The one that sinned, Chas v'Shalom, has to get his oynesh. We know that in the 10 Midos, we have 3 lines, 3 ways. To the right, which is the Chesed, to the center, which is the Rachamim, and to the left, which is the Gvura, which is the Din. The Din comes from the line Baga. It's an acronym, Jisva, Bina, Gvura, Hoid. So we know that the Dinim are coming right down that path. But the world is managed through three lines. Those 3 lines, each one has a name. I didn't write it. Have you seen it before? No, I didn't write it. Fine, I'm going to write it. Oh, no, I wrote it above. I didn't know I had another page. Okay, Kel, Yud Keva, Kel in the Chesed, Yud Kevavke in the Rachmim, Eloikim in the Gvuras. The together, these 3 lines, equals 143, equals Shem Kamag, second name of the Bina already. Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey. Now you need 3 Dayanim. Kamag, Kamag, Kamag. Each Dayan has to be. So what it tells me, you already have 3 here. No. Every person has 3 lines. His train of thought. You cannot hate one of the parties or love one of the parties prior to a din. These 3 names apply to each Dayan. What makes a Dayan that he has those 3 lines very distinctively, meaning he is not attracted and not repulsed by any of them at this point. Okay? So now we need 3 times kamag. 3 times kamag equals 429 equals mishpat. The dayanim, the base din, is in the Shechina. Vashem pakar Sarah. What it means Vashem? Right away the Midrash says, Hashem ubeis dino. The Vav shows that we're talking about the base din of HaKadosh Baruch. So here we have a base din, and every dayan has one name Adnos. We'll see why. Equals 195 equals tzedek with a kernel. Now you understand why the Malchus is called tzedek, because the Malchus has the 3 dayanim. Now you know that one. If you take the Malchus in Milui, you have mem, and you only calculate the inner letters, the inside of the letters, which is Vatilbash Esther Malchus. For those who remember, equals here 196, equals Yamsuf, equals Tzedek with a cradle. No, not Tzedek, sorry. 3 times Adnos with a cradle. 3 times Adnos with a cradle. Okay, I arrived till here. What is he telling? He's going to tell me here, Said, that's mind-boggling. In order to understand it, we're almost there. In order to understand it, we need to take the next 2 words of the Pasuk. Mishkan ha'edus. Mem hey. Rashi Teva is ma. Is yud ke vav ke. The name, per definition, of HaKadosh Baruch. If you take the back letters, it's Taf Nun, 450. And here I'm going to take a little break to explain you something. With the 22 letters of the alphabet, things were created. Everything is in Olam HaYetzirah. In Sefer Yetzirah, with the 3 fundamentals part, which are, we call them Amash. Aleph for Avir, Mem for Maim, and Shin for Esh. So we're taking the last letter because we don't want to put another Aleph to, because we used it already for Avir. So you have air, water, and fire. These are keneged the first 3 spheres. HaKadosh Baruch Hu now, with a set of 12, created the 12 mazalos, created the 12 tribes, and created with this something amazing, the Malchus. The Malchus is the produce of 12 simple letters. Now we can review them, and we can try to understand the side here in the beginning of the Pasuk, because we're going to have it's not even a rail, we're going to have a paved road in front of us that's really leading to, here are the letters, Hey Vav, Zayin Ches, they're immutable. They cannot change. You don't put a dagesh, you don't put any add-on on them. Tes Yud, Lamed Nun, Samech Ayin, Tzadik Kuf. And these letters equals 445. And if you take Moshe in Milui, it's 446, like Maves, like death. Because even death was scared of Moshe Rabbeinu. But in truth, he calls these 12 letters plus 1. These 12 letters represent the Shechina. When the Pasuk says, Vayhi b'yom kalos Moshe in Bamidbar, Vayhi b'yom kalos Moshe lehakim es Mishkan, And it was when Moshe finished the upbringing of the Mishkan. Chazal say in the Midrash there, the Zohar said the same thing. Don't read Kalois finishing, read Kalas Moshe. Because the Mishkan so you have two things. You have a global view and you have a practical view of every detail in the Mishkan. So on the global view, we can say the Mishkan is the house of the Shekhinah where she resides. That's all. So we have the 445, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the Torah, is the Luchas, is the one who brought them down. She is, so the Chazal say, don't say Kaloi, say Kalas, that she is the color of Moshe Rabbeinu. Like this is what says. I asked the question, but she's the wife of Yaakov Avinu. How can you say that? So automatically it means you have something to teach me. You don't really mean Kalas. So what do you mean by this? If you take Kalas with the hay, because she's hinted, the last hay of the Yud Kei Vav Kei represents the Shekhinah, equals 450. Here's you 450. You have the Yud Kei Vav Kei and the Shekhinah together in Mishkan HaEdus. It's a Edus. Why is it a Edus? As the Midrash says, it's an Edus to the people of the world that the Shekhinah resides amongst them. But that's the point of Edus. But here we're touching it up a little bit different. We're saying Edus is the Torah. The Torah is the Edus. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is our God, is our Father, is our Shepherd, is everything. Why? Because that's what it says in the Torah. Finished. So Mishkan is the Malchus. Edus is the Torah. Together, that's what we say here. 445 plus 446. If you add them together, equals 891, equals Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's why it was done concurrently together with the Moshe and the Shekhinah. Each one on their own could not do it. Equals Naise Venishma. Because again, and this you can take from so many different ways, but simply, very simply, because that's not the subject of our shir, Naise Venishma is keneged Torah shebichtav and Torah shebe'al peh. Nase keneged Torah shebe'al peh, venishma Torah shebichtav. That's what Bnei Israel did. Where is this koyach come from? Who's at the source of the koyach? Moshe and the Shekhinah. That's what it tells us. The Aron HaKodesh is basically the power, with the one that attributes the power to the Bnei Israel in order to accomplish Torah shebichtav and Torah shebe'al peh. That's what it is, no more. I want to go back to the Pasuk. No, that's not the Pasuk. So now that we arrive to it, automatically we see the importance of the Aron HaKodesh and the Luchas there, that we need to take care of the next level, which is the Kapores, which is the cover of the Aron, on which were the Keruvim. Okay, but now step by step, because we've been asking simple questions, but very powerful questions. If we take the next set of letters, Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe, Aleph, Pei, so the Rashi Tevis still, Ayin, Pei, Mem, equal 371, Ritzua. The week. In other words, the power of the Malchus, it's either Chesed or Din. 370 are the Shin Ayin Nehorin Kadishin, the 370 lights. Okay, plus the Koilo. Baritzua is exactly 371. And by the way, Mishar Kavanos says that Riyah Kodesh, that you have to be aware that when the Shefa of, because the tefillin of a person connect to the tefillin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he has intent, and he should have intent to connect his tefillin to the tefillin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And once they have the shefa, that's why it's called in the back ma'averta, the maivar, the passage. Through there come the shefa from Shemaim and goes down through the ritzuas. That's the way Riyah Kodesh explains it. Here we explain a little bit because we are not in tefillin. So the ritzua means the stick, the whip, whatever. In the malchus, there are two koiches, the koyach of din or the koyach of chasadim. Here I had made a mistake in the pointer at me during a share, shame on me I made a mistake in that gematria. You know, it happens. Because I said Asher Pukad, the Sefer Tevis. Now that we took the Rashi Tevis, we have the Sefer Tevis to look at. It's Resh, Dalet, Lamed, Yud, Hey. It's already 230, just the Resh and the Lamed. Plus 10, 240. 249, and I had written 219. So I was wrong. And this is equals Tyra done by Yud Hey. In other words, that once the person who sinned and did the Begam in the Shechina received his punishment, the Shechina would be metaher that person. Because Kapores triggers me, a lot of questions. First question is the word kapara. Kaper sof. We have, as we're going to see a little bit later, we have double letters in the Torah. Bagad, Kafras. Kafras, same letters as Kapores. So we're talking about double letters. Double letters, we're going to see from Sefer Yetzirah, has two koiches. A koiches strength and a weak. When he has a dagesh, you pronounce the letter. When he doesn't have a dagesh, you don't pronounce the letter. You kind of swallow the letter. And so this is an indication on the two koiches of the malchus. But still, it doesn't tell me the magic behind this word kapores, which is kafras, which is kaper sof. What is he coming to do here? I'm going to show you something in the Sefer Yetzirah about these. Okay, here are the 7 letters which are mentioned in introduction to the Shir, that with which we created the 7 spheroids, the Vak, the seven spheres below that manages this world, Olam Asiya, the seven, the Chankala, the seven stars, the 7 days of the week, and the seven double letters. So here we have base and vase. You see, these are the letters. One is without dagesh, the first one, it's to the right, and this one is to the left. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Says the Sefer Yetzirah, the power of these letters is to give you base, Chaim, Gimel, Shalom, Dalet, Chaf, Chaf, Oisher, wealth, Pei, Chaim, attraction, Resh, Zera, children, Saf, Malchus, is Memshala, ruling. These are the seven koiches that come from these seven letters. Okay. So we're going to miss the first 3-1, but we need to analyze, what is going on. And here there is a huge side, huge. How am I going to say it? Let's start with the end. I'm going to take it backward from what I wrote. We're going to take the 4 attributes that these letters create. So these letters created also the days of the week, the 7 kedim of the Beis Hamikdash, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Any 7 in the world down below, here is how it was created. So we know now that the Kapores is keneged the Yesod, and he has these 4 attributes. Oisher, Chen, Zera, Memshala. This equals to, I think it's 1,326. Oisher, Zera, Memshala. And this equals to Yud Gimel times Emunah. Emunah being 102, 13 times 102 equals 1326. Exactly. How can a person have a complete Emunah, complete, and still only access the last 4, not the complete 7? He's not going up to the middle of Chesed with 13 times Emunah. He's only going up to Oisher. That's all he gets. So he only gets to Netzach. Netzach, Hoid, Yesod, Malchus. Here's the 4. Kapores has 4 letters. And so we'll see exactly, what's hiding behind all this. Emunah equals 102. A kav. Kav ba'abamois, if a kav was spreaded, into abamois, harelu sheloi, the Mishnah. Rav Chanina, I forgot the last one of the Gemara, sagele bekav charuvin. Every time there's the word kav, kuf base, in the Torah, this it apply in the Gemara. So we have 102 equals kav. But Kav reminds me Yaboik without the Yud. Do I have it? Yeah. Yaboik, we know what it is. Keye Yudke Vavke Adnos. I don't have to go back to Yaboik. We all know what it is. Yichud, Bracha, Kedusha. In other words, since we have only Kav, we only have this, Bracha and Kedusha. But we're missing the Yichud. In other words, that person that has complete emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, indeed, he reached the highest level. However, is not mekayim the mitzvahs in the proper way in order to create a yichud. So what do I have left is bracha kedusha. But since the yichud is not made, therefore it's called Kapores because we lost the first three. It's missing the yichud. In other words, you can deduct from here that the yichud is Beis Gimel Dalet Beged. By God, you can take it the way you want, but simply the yichud of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina is hinted in those three letters. That becomes 6. So I can go back. So now I'm going to put everything together. When a person sins, the Shechina is in danger. We all know that the Chatoim create a Pgam in the person and automatically also in the Shechina. What happens when aftermath, after the sin, what happens to the Shechina? The Shechina is diminished because of the Chet. The Nachash wants to come back and did what he did with Chava in Ma'aseh Bereishis. In other words, he wants to become the husband and control the Shechina. The proof is I have to pass on this, man. You never heard about, today you're going to hear about new things. Gematria Kidmis. Gematria Kidmis is, if I say base, I want to calculate base, I calculate Aleph plus base, so equals 3, not 2 anymore. If you say Dalet equals, so you calculate with the previous letter that support that letter. So it's Aleph plus base is 3, plus Gimel is 6, plus Dalet is 10. Now I'm going to change letter. If I take Nun and I calculate from Aleph base all the way up to Nun, equals, the addition equals 195. If I take the letter Ches and I calculate all the previous, previous letters together with the Ches equals 36. If I want to calculate Shin and add all the letters, the previous letters, equals 196. If you add them all together, equals 1,326. When there's no Yichud, the Shechina is weakened. Yes. Who's this guy? Nun Cheshin, the Nachash. The Nachash has the capacity to overcome Chalila, the Shechina, when she's only left with Bracha and Kedusha. God tells you, I have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't need anything. Yes, I know you have emunah pshuta. I know you're working, it's worth a lot what you're doing. But still, it endangers. Because that you're not mekayim the mitzvahs the proper way, you are endangering the Shekhinah. We always see these two koiches exactly like what the Pele Yoed said B'Shem Da'avodas HaKodesh, that when a person eats, sit down to eat on his table, he has to realize that on the right side, the head of the table, the Shekhinah is sitting there. On the left side of the table, the lily is sitting there. And his behavior on the table will determine who will be ruling that table. Where is he going to go? Is he going to go to the right? Ze HaShulchan Asher Lifnei Hashem. That's the shulchan where people respected it. And he goes up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We had a share of this. Or Chaz v'Shalom is going to the left side. Now, we understand what we said a little bit before, that Kapores also hints Kaper Sof. Because when the Gam was done through the Chet, he affected also the Shechina and Sof. So the Sefer Yetzirah in Perek Dalet, Mishnah Yudalet gives us, reveals what was created through each one of these letters, creation was done through it. And the Saf is the Levana. So this on the 7 stars, the last one is the Saf, the Levana. There's a whole story about this stuff, but let's remain focused on where we're going. But we're getting there right now. I mean, Baruch Hashem, it came out pretty understandable because it's a very complex subject here. As soon as we deal with letters and numbers. So the Sefer Yetzirah, Avraham Avinu, some say it's Rabbi Akiva, Avraham Avinu are saying, like in Sefer Kabbalah, it's always Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu wrote in his Sefer that the Saf is, so we really have a situation where the Kapores is going to be mechaper on the Malchus. That's the function of the Kapores. Understand? The Keruvim are going to do a shmira on the Malchus. That even though the Bnei Yisrael have sinned, even though the Goyim now have the power to overcome, the what was I? Sorry, I lost the train of thought here. I was explaining what? The Kapor Sof, yes. So even though they have the power to overcome the Shechina, that is the defense of Am Yisrael, but the Keruvim have a stronger power, that when the Shechina, so when we don't have the Mishkan, we don't have the Keruvim. When we don't have the Keruvim, automatically our defense is only the Shechina. Whatever she can do, Rachel Imenu, whatever she can do. But when we had the Keruvim, they were protecting Soichechim bechanfeihem ala Kapores. As before I give you that side and finish, tie up everything together, I want to show you what happened to Jews when we have the package according to Sefer Yetzirah. When we have, so the Bagat Kafrat is always dinim. Double letters, it always dinim. Number two pairs, dinim. Always pairs, dinim. That's why we don't eat something in two of something or four. Till four it lasts, but after that it's fine. If we take everything, the 7 midas that come out, because the same, I'm not saying it. So let's take these letters, these attributes, and we have here a number 18,872. That's the koyach in number that we're getting. What can it be? What is it? When you try, we all know that the Shechina is our mother. Rachel Imeinu, she gave the signs to her sister. Therefore, she took the role of the Shechina. She is the mother of all Bnei Israel because she was supposed to have the 12 tribes. Had she not been doing chesed with Leah, she would have had all the 12 tribes, all the Yud Beit Shvatim. So Mimela, it's considered that she is a Shechina. Now look, if you take the name Adnos, we're gonna fit it up Milui de Milui. So even the Aleph, we're gonna go for Aleph. Just to save time, maybe I'll just copy it from my document and say the Keruvim. It's on page 13. Up somewhere. 30. See, I'm gonna go back here. No, not like this. Like this. Okay, so you have it here, Aleph. So this is where the Aleph is, the middle. Aleph, you can see. That's called the milui of a milui. Filling the filler. As the Dalet. Okay, you don't need me to do it. The Shekhinah. You have the Shekhinah in full power. By doing this, that's what we get. Okay. I still have to answer. Those who stand on top, Moshe, Aron. Moshe and Aron, these are the Keruvim. They were down here. And what they're doing on the Aron HaKodesh? 601 equals Shechina in Milui, Shin, Chaf, Shechina, Yud, Shechinun. Hey, exactly. That's what it is. They're the one that brought the Shechina. The Keruvim are only a protection in order to safeguard the Shechina. That's all it is. Now, if we look in the Pasuk, because we had a great question, we said there's a pesel on here, how is it possible? The second dibur of the Torah is lo yisaseh lechal pesel, v'chal temuna, and so forth. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm taking the Pasuk. What did I close it? So here we're gonna take, if I wrote it here. Let me take back this. Okay, so we have here 160, 160, 230, 230, 271. $271. If we add the kernel, 272 equals. So in the Torah, it's written Keruvim always without a vav. In the Nach, sometimes it's written with a vav. What's the difference? It's at maybe on Shabbos here. Keruvim. Just remind me to tell you this on Shabbos. That's all. So that's what we have. So we see indeed the words of the Zohar, Shepukad al pi Moshe, that means you understand now again why you know what, I have to go down to it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to avoid the time and everything, but I can't. I gotta give it to you. Look at this word. Pukad, we said redeem. How do you redeem? This is Yud, Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Shem Kapad of Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu through Chachma, through the name of Chachma, which is the Choraim of Chachma, he brought and installed the Shechina of Yud Hey Vav in its place there. The Keruvim, at this point, what I'm going to tell you is Beneis Hayu Oimdim. They were there, but they were not there. On top, we had Moshe and Aron. We understand what it means. They formed together, they formed the Shechina. The Shechina could not exist without Moshe and Aron. They're the one who brought her down here. They're the one who installed her here. That's why they called the upper Keruvim. In the Keruvim down below, it was the Sar of Olam HaBeria, Olam HaYetzira, the one we call the Nalaim, the shoes. And from the one of Olam HaAsiya. They are the angels that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent them in shlichus. In other words, yes, they are looking as if we had two pieces, two pesel. They were not pesel. They were the expression from Olam HaYetzira, and Olam, it was a levush for the matat to come down to the right side, and for sandal to come back to the left side into there and watch over the Shechina. I'll prove you this, and I'm finishing on this. In the Pasuk, it says they have to be per se chenafim. Per se, it says without a vav. Chenafayim. Did I read it right? Yes. Per se chenafim equals 790 equals Rachel Imenu. You can say Moshe with what we said, or I like to say Kel Shakai. To show where she was in Rachel Imenu, she was in the Bechina Kel Shakai when she went up to the Keser. Why? Because the Malachim, he has some Sandal takes her from Olam Asiya to Olam Yetzira. Matat takes her from Olam Yetzira all the way to Olam Beria. Moshe and Aron take her to Olam Atzilus. That's the conduct. And that's also the same tzinor that comes when a person is being rewarded. But they were soichechim bechanfeihem. They were spreading over like a sukkah. Soichechim bechanfeihem. What were they doing? Sorry. There's also no verb in the Pasuk. One 6 2 equals Tiferes. Yes, sir. The roles of the Keruvim was to keep the Yichud together. In other words, we saw what happened when there's the Yichud, because Am Yisrael and Tzadik Baretz Asher Yaseh Toiv Velo Yechta. So Mimela, the Yichud was what we were losing. The Bracha and the Kedusha, this with Emunah, it's enough, even though we're not accomplishing. Here, the role of the Keruvim was to keep the same way that Chochmah and Bina, they're always in Yichud, and if that Yichud will stop, the world would collapse. The same way the Keruvim were holding the Tiferes Yesod, it's the two things, it's a Vav with the last Hey in Yichud. That's the side of the Kapores. This is the side, it's already a side. There's obviously lower stages, but lower floors, but we might go there. But here we have a look at how the Torah, Eile Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan or Edus, Asher Pukad al Pi Moshe, the Torah tells us, and now you understand also why the Keruvim are not mentioned in this Parasha. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. All right, B'ez Hashem, I heard that we have a meeting on Shabbos, so we'll be able to learn B'ez Hashem. Have a good night, everyone.
Shkoyach, very nice.
Doc, while I have you here, I don't know if your son-in-law told you, but we told
Yeah,
you.
9 o'clock.
Not okay, you know already. Fine.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be waiting for your call. Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Together. Have a good night, everyone. Call to. Bye.